With the people of Congo going through a silent genocide, I want to remind you, with the new release of the new iPhone, don't buy it.
One of the most disturbing, dark, and depressing podcasts I've ever done. What really goes into getting a cell phone is slaves in the Congo. Women who are working with a child on their back, breaking out cobalt with hammers. The toxic fumes, they're inhaling them, their child's inhaling.
Nothing is more exciting than hearing injustice being voiced. So this is what we are doing by spreading this awareness. There is a silent genocide happening in Congo. I will keep updating you on what is happening and what people are discovering so far. So while these companies are lying to us that whatever they're doing is clean business, this is what is happening, detriment of life in the DRC. And this has not been happening just recently, but it's now recent that people have started to realize what is happening. But this has been happening for a long time. It's been years of labor. From generation to generation, people have been suffering this. And I must say, colonialism has never ended in this country. So this is DRC, and this is what is happening. And this is what it takes for you to get a new iPhone every year. So, and why do they have to convince us every year that we need a new iPhone? So this is what is happening. I'll let you enjoy the rest of the video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts. Also, remember to leave comments that are constructive. We don't tolerate any violence here. Let's keep voicing. Most of the time when we keep quiet on injustice, it's when it even gets worse and things get out of hand that we are no longer able to do anything. But you can still make that change. I'm glad that people are raising all this awareness. Things are happening and it's serious.
Depressing podcast I've ever done. What really goes into getting a cell phone is slaves in the Congo. Women who are working with a child on their back, breaking out cobalt with hammers. The toxic fumes, they're inhaling them, their child's inhaling them. All sorts of birth defects, cancers. He was talking about all this horrible shit that happens to these people, on top of the fact that they're not getting barely any money. They're just barely enough to survive and eat. They're treated like shit. They work 12 hours a day. And that's at the heart of every fucking cell phone we own.
With the people of Congo going through a silent genocide, I want to remind you, with the new release of the new iPhone, don't buy it. If your phone works perfectly fine, you don't need a new phone. Consumerism has got you guys thinking that you need a new phone every year. Every year. Wake up. Use that phone until it no longer works anymore. If your battery is draining, charge your phone more often. Carry a cable with you. But buying a new phone every year, really? Does that make sense to you? They've got you so deep that you don't even realize. Or maybe you do and you just don't care. But there's blood on your hands. From now on, if you keep buying a new phone and you know your phone works perfectly, you're contributing to genocide. Come on, niggas.
We had this guy, Siddharth Kara, on the podcast the other day. It was one of the most disturbing and dark and just depressing podcasts I've ever done.
Is it about spying?
It's about cobalt mining, about what goes into getting a cell phone.
What is more disgusting, let me say disgusting, and how they come in terms of support. So they come as if they are good Samaritan, trying to help. So the reward we get it in form of AIDS, while it's the people who are suffering all this, mining everything they're doing, funding everything that they're doing. So this is what goes behind all these aids, all these, all these supports that you see people filming, taking to the DRC. It's after doing all these things.
Silent genocide in Congo. If someone's indoctrinated and uneducated, they'll say, well, they don't care and it has nothing to do with them. But with the world crossing global climate tipping points and food insecurity, geopolitical turmoil, and economic inequality in a globalized economy, having one country inefficiently run that has 2/3 of the world's cobalt supply that's in your phone could potentially fall into the wrong hands and jeopardize the global supply chain. That, coupled with the climate crisis continuing and massive pollution and ecological damage ensuing, causing tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people to be misplaced and ultimately die, resulting in one of the greatest genocides this planet has ever seen potentially.
Boycotting tech companies is the only way to help the situation in the Congo right now.
The West has buried its claws inside Congo, and they're not going to let go until we speak up. They're banking on our silence to keep doing what they're doing, to keep exploiting the Congolese people for their labor. Let them know that you know that children are being buried alive underneath these mines looking for coltan so that Apple gets to make iPhones. We have to speak up and stop buying their products. UNICEF won't help. The UN doesn't care. The West has installed inside the DRC right now, their current leader is a puppet for the West. He doesn't care. He's working for them. So it's up to us, the consumers. We have the power. We hold all the power. And we have to realize that the machine doesn't run unless we run it. Boycott tech and free the Congo.
The one thing that hasn't been spoken of during this conflict is the need to cancel these guys.
We need to make some huge changes, and I made a little chart to kind of like show people how we are where everything is created. So we're the little person, the worker up top, and we already have been complaining about how we're overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. We don't get living wages, and 64% of Americans are like paycheck to paycheck. That's weird. But in order to compensate, we get all these new devices that they throw our way, which those materials are sourced illegally, and they come at the cost of millions of people. So what do those companies do with the money that we give them? They're gonna fund their own like global projects and objectives, which is, supporting terrorist groups, building terrorist groups in order to destroy people's land and homes, to one, sell more weapons, and two, get gas. And us, the workers, we need gas because we have to travel to places and whatnot, blase, blase, blase. But that gas is what's funding also more genocide. So we know our taxes go to this shit too, and I'm just saying, if a vast majority of people agreed not to pay their taxes, I'd be here for it. But some adaptations that I definitely think we should do would be like carpooling, demands on public transportation. Do not fall for that city-town bullshit. Learn how to barter, trade, buy local, so decentralized from the government, because those big companies that we buy from also go support the other people. Help one another, and don't always expect something back. Like, I had fucking 2 microwaves in my closet. I don't need that shit. And they've been there for a year. So I gave them away for free to people who needed them. Bitch at your representatives and tell them that this shit they need to be advocating for, and that they do not, you need to get their asses out. As we can see, like, you don't really need that much qualifications. So shit, if we can prop somebody up and we can buy them out somehow, we need to do that. Get a roommate and save money, because they are making it impossible for us to live. No more tablets for kids. And this can help with multiple things. Socially, it's going to allow people to spend time with their family. Education-wise, they'll pick up a book or go play outside and actually socialize, because kids are antisocial. Maybe they'll pick up a fucking abacus, who knows? But the large impact is that we're going to be boycotting these devices because the conditions in which they are sourced. Everybody needs fair compensation. We cannot allow our own greed to fund a genocide.
Girl, so this one time, these 3 countries decided to get together, right? And they saw that there was this one space of land that had oodles and caboodles of natural resources, and it was a substitute for some of the things that they were looking to build, right? And it turns out a lot of people in separate countries, they actually wanted the things that they wanted to build, except they didn't have any resources or any money to get this stuff done. So what did they do? They went to this country where they knew for a fact this country, they typically didn't like people that looked exactly like the people that lived in this particular plot of land. They knew that the people who lived there, they didn't like people that looked of a much darker shade, a more sable shade. But it turned out that they had the money and the resources, even though their ideologies were very toxic, extremely dangerous, and could possibly lead to another world war if they actually got into bed with them. They themselves have also had these same ideologies and have been linked to several instances where they have gone to other mass forms of land, completely drained them of their resources, including like diamonds and all types of natural resources. I mean, just completely ripped through the land. So they're thinking to themselves, I mean, hey, like, we've done this. Who are we to say anything? Just because they're different, a little different, we're the same shade, skin tone. So we should be able to go to them, get the money that we need in order to go to this land. And we're going to market it as we're actually civilizing the people there, even though the natives in that land, that they didn't like the people that lived on top of that land that provided the natural resources, didn't consider themselves to be savages and did not under any circumstances asked to be civilized to their terms. They still decided to go ahead and do it, right? Right. So obviously it was going to be very difficult for them to be able to pull this whole scheme off because they've done it before. They've gone to different masses of land where there's been different other people there. And usually the people there that are actually in, I want to say, like political power or that have the majority of the resources are of lighter descent. So they use the same plan over and over again. And they basically sold it to the people who live there. Hey, if you do this, then we'll teach you our ways and we'll provide you with weapons because you're going to need to protect yourself. But what they really meant was you're going to need to protect yourself from us, because what we're going to do, if you don't give us these natural resources, we're just going to come in and take it. But we're not going to get our hands dirty and covered in blood. We're going to put the weapons in the hands of the oppressed people that don't like you in your own land. And we're going to make them kill you, rape your kids, rape your parents, rape everybody you know, kill everybody you know, and then we're going to make those said people, in addition to you and all other people that were left alive after having all these travesties and just schmids done to them, we're going to make them go down into those dangerous conditions and get the stuff that we need. Even though we don't have any plans on paying them, we don't have any plans on providing with any kind of profit, we really just want that natural resource and we feel entitled to it because we need it. I mean, why shouldn't we be able to have it if we need it? Even though we didn't pay to be there, even though we didn't own that land and we're not native to that land, we deserve to have it because we feel like we deserve to have it. And how dare you tell us that we can't have it, right? Okay, hold on. So then the natives of that land are like, what? Like, you tripping for real? Because this is our land and we think that we should just leave it alone. We don't want to dig it up. We don't want to do anything crazy to it. We actually live on this land. And if you go down into that land, it will destroy the entire infrastructure and the geological structure of this land and everything that we do on it to survive. It will destroy it. So we're asking you not to do that. And we're doing it in the most peaceful way. Will you just peacefully go away and leave us the hell alone? And they were like, no. So it turns out we have this friend that has all this money, all these weapons and massive chemical and nuclear destructive weapons. And we will do that. We will do exactly what we told you we're going to do. Not only we're going to do that, we're going to keep that land. Even when we're done with it, we're going to keep foraging it. We're going to keep killing your people. And we're going to keep turning you guys into modern day slaves because we feel like we deserve to do that. And we don't care what you think. And because we think in the back of our heads that you may be crazy enough to turn around and do the same thing to us, we're going to go and we're going to do it again and again and again and again and again. And then we're going to take some of the slaves that we took years ago, which basically are your own people, and we displace them into a whole nother continent, i.e. a whole nother mass of land, America. We're going to take them about 3,000 of them, pick them up, put them on 3 separate boats, bring them back to another massive piece of land, give them our weapons and tell them to go nuts. Even though we've already taught them how to be savages, even though we think that you're the savages, the real savagery, you get what I'm saying. So basically what ended up happening was they did exactly that. Unfortunately, because the natives of that particular continent weren't really equipped weapon-wise, they weren't really equipped to deal with the evil powers of the people who came to that land looking for those natural resources. Unfortunately, the evil people, they actually succeeded in doing so, and they were able to kill off more than a third of the people of that land for several decades. And that's not the only place where they did that. They went to several other continents, but we're just talking about these particular 2 countries right now because you guys don't like to pay attention to these particular countries because they're this color as far as their skin. Now, as far as the people who provided them with the money to be able to do so, that would be no one other than Israel. And they did so by taking the money that they stole from other countries and all the resources that they stole from other countries and giving it to the Americans, the French, and the Canadians, as well as Great Britain. And then they all put their own money into another pot, double that so that it can do it more and more and more. They went to other continents in other countries and found out that there's also the same kind of natural resources there. Then they told other countries like, hey, like other colored countries, hey, if you do this, you'll be able to get some of that stuff. And if you just break me off a piece, I'll break you off a piece of my weapons. And they've been doing that for well over centuries. And it turns out today they're still doing that. They even went as far as to not only raping and killing children, they kept a lot of them to rape real time in order to get them to comply, and then they sent them down in there, and then they put the guns in the hands of the actual children, some of them as young as 4 years old, and made them kill actual adults, including their own parents, made them shoot in the head in front of their entire family, and then completely just wipe out their entire bloodline, leaving only that one kid alive, and then left that one kid alive to be able to tell his story. Now, a lot of those kids were actually able to make their way out of that particular land of mass because they were a native. They were able to find their way to another country where they realized that their other natives from centuries and centuries ago actually lived there, and they were connected by blood. So in some way, shape, or form, they were able to make their way over to that other land of mass, but they didn't know that once they made it over to that other land of mass, it actually housed the people who created the system that caused the trouble in their land of mass. Now, what is that country called? It's called Congo. The Congo and Sudan. And who paid for that? America, Israel, Great Britain, France, Germany, Canada. All of the NATO powers knew about this, and they did absolutely nothing. If anything, they profited off of it. All of the things that you have been using in those other countries have come from that continent. When y'all say that y'all think that black people gonna create everything, it is a freaking lie, because we quite literally do. We quite literally do. We even create the medicines that heal the diseases that your people create from being dirty, and then have the audacity to get on Beyonce's internet and tell us that you have to wash your chicken or your ass for a week. Are you fucking serious? Y'all been doing this in the Congo for how long? And then did your best to try and keep it quiet, even though they let out a movie. That way they could say, well, we never told y'all about that. And for those of y'all who don't know what that movie is, it's called Blood Diamond, and it's got Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Am I surprised? Absolutely not, because Leonardo DiCaprio likes to pry on children. He likes to stick his penis in barely legal girls. So it makes sense why he would actually be in that movie, because he himself is a very nasty human being. Bread. He's blood of the most evil race known to man. Yeah, I said it. You nasty ass man. So anyways, and like, do you know what happened to those babies?